Okay, so today's dev meeting, we're going to be talking about Piston. Piston is a Django mini framework for creating RESTful-like APIs. Um, and so what does that mean? Basically, it allows you to easily create API interfaces so that data that you have stored in your database, in your models and whatnot, in Django can be easily accessed on the client side via, some sort of URL that describes the API request. Um, so it ties in with existing models in your apps to create a very simple and direct way to access database information. It includes built-in authentication support, such as OAuth, Basic Digest. It can respond to requests via JSON, XML, YAML, and Pickle via what it calls emitters, and you can actually create custom emitters, um, to handle any sort of other formats that you want, and it ties in really easily. It supports streaming with throttling to clients and whatnot, and it makes extensive use of HTTP status codes such as put, delete, post, and get. And that's kind of interesting because in the Django world, you pretty much exclusively work with post and get, and this kind of expands that and tries to be more conformant with the standards and whatnot, and what they should mean. Okay, so how does it use? You create a handler, you bind the handler to a URL, and then you prop it. It's extremely
Nice.
it's extremely easy to do this, and so I'm going to go straight into an example here and show one of the most basic things I could think of. Um, so basically, you're going to have in an application or in an app inside your Django project, you're going to have a models.py, handlers.py, and a urls.py. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's one. Um, and inside those three files, so in your models.py, obviously you define some sort of model, and so I defined a very simple thing where I'm say going to do a blog entry. My blog entry contains a text field and a slug field,
We're still on
right?
slide 3, Ryan, is that right?
Should be on slide 4.
There it is.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, can you can you see that now?
Yeah, slide 4
Yeah,
has
we
it.
see it.
Okay. Okay. So we have models.py, and that defines our basic, entry model or whatever, where we'll have a blog entry stored. Handlers.py is something unique to Piston. So basically, what you'll do is you'll create handlers that are subclasses of the base handler. And I don't include all the include statements in here because I didn't have enough room. But basically, a base handler is a class that Piston defines, and then you define in your entry handler in the class there the model that you want to use, which is entry in this case, which is a blog entry, and then we define the method that we want allowed towards this model, which is a GET request. And Piston's kind of neat because it maps HTTP status code HTTP requests directly to different methods in your handler. So GET is mapped directly to the read method. Um, Put is mapped directly to, I think it's the update method. Post is mapped to create, and then what's the other one? I think it's
Delete.
delete. Delete is mapped directly to delete. Um, so you can actually create, these different, or just you overload these different methods in your class, and you define which ones you want and the methods allowed, and you basically have a really easy way of manipulating data from an API extremely easily. And so in this case, we just want to read, and we have entry equals get object or 404, entry slug equals slug, and then we return the entry. And notice that we don't even have to return an HTTP request or whatnot, or HTTP response, excuse me. We just return the the entry from that we retrieved from the database, and Piston handles converting that into whatever sort of emitter that we want. In this case, the default emitter is JSON, so it'll actually return a JSON object of your entry model or instance of your entry model. And then urls.py, we basically just have to define a resource based off of the handler. Um, Actually, that's a typo. The handler should actually be entry handler, not entry. My bad. And then in our URL patterns here, we just add the entry resource that we made. And basically, what happens here is when you visit entries slash some unique slug, uh, it'll call the with a get request, only with a get request. It'll call that read method that we had previously here, and whoops, it'll call that read method, and it'll pull the entry from the database and return that entry, and then the client will get a JSON object that is based off that entry data. So, and this allows us to go, get entry slug or get entry slug, and you actually define the format in the query string that you want. So if you don't want JSON, which is the default, you can either define the default in the model, or if you want clients to be able to get different formats themselves, you can just say, format equals YAML in the query string, or format equals XML, or format equals pickle even, um, and then it'll give that directly to the client. Like I said earlier, it makes good use of status code. So in addition to making good use of different sorts of requests, it also makes good use of response status code. So duplicate entry, deleted, obviously not found, which would be 404, right? So miscellaneous stuff like that. So in addition to these two functions right here, or these two methods, will belong in the handlers.py file that we got earlier, right? So we go, if self.exists the posted data to this request, then we can return a duplicate entry, because obviously it already exists in the database and we can't create another one. If not, then we just create a new one, and actually that should probably be return rc.created or something right there too. Or you can actually just return the object itself, which I do there. And then, like I said earlier, the delete request that maps, or the delete method that maps directly to the delete request. And then get it at bitbucket.org/justburn/Django-Piston. And that's it.
So I have a question, Ryan. If you wanted to, is Piston only useful for collecting data that's in the models?
No, you can actually use Piston to map any sort of data that you want emitted, or that you want to be accessed via an API. I use only data from a model because that's the simplest way to use it, but you can also return a regular Python dictionary or a Python list or whatever. And as long as what you return is serializable, then it's perfectly valid with Piston.
Interesting. Hey, that was Jeremy, just joined us.
Hello.
I
Any
think
other questions?
Cool.
Like I said earlier, it also supports streaming. So potentially, you could use this for, I don't know, anything that requires data streaming, such as, videos of some sort.
like maybe a chat applet.
Yeah, like a chat applet or something. That'd be perfect for something like this. And you can.
Oh, like Google Docs.
Yeah, pretty much, or Google Wave or something. Potentially, Piston could be extended to encompass, that sort of usage. So, and like I said, it includes built-in OAuth support. I don't know if it has OAuth 2 support, because I don't think it does, because I had a hard time setting up with SSL earlier. But yeah, it works really well, actually.
Cool. Well, I'll stop recording if you guys don't have any other questions. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Ryan. Appreciate it. I'm gonna stop now.
All right.